live now.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Apologies to those who were watching the live streaming of our meeting. Our adjournment went just a little bit longer than we anticipated. I will now resume the ordinary council meeting of Glamorgan Spring Bay Council of the 25th of March at 4:29 p.m. at agenda item 10, which is petitions, which we have none. Agenda item 11 is councillors' questions on notice by councillors. There is no questions on notice. And agenda item 11.2 is comments and statements by councillors. Councillor Walker, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I've got two comments to make. Firstly, I'd like to apologise to all around the table. Whilst we're in adjournment, I threw a tantrum. And I'm publicly apologising to those around the table for my behaviour. The second comment I have is that I would like to acknowledge, tongue-in-cheek, the fact that Taswater have finally fixed the leak under the Orford Bridge after some 5 weeks. Good. And hopefully we don't go into water restrictions.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Gregson.
Right, I just have a couple of comment statements. I'd just like to acknowledge the contribution of the Director of Corporate Community, Elise Lane, for her fantastic contribution to this council over 4 years. Although I've only been here for 12 months, I've found Elise very competent, and she's a big loss to this council. So I'd just like to acknowledge that. Number two,
Yeah, I'll second that.
thank you. Number two is I attended as a councillor at Redbill Beach, Bishno, the Float and Survive demonstration and explanation. Now, this is a concept presented by Ian from the Wollongong and so-called Hippo from Bondi Rescue, along with Shane Gould and her husband Milton. And basically it gives an outline of how to survive when you float, and if you get into a rip, not survive. So we had a few people go into the rip, and they went round and came back in quite successful under the guidance and tutelage of the aforementioned members. And I'd just like to disclose, I was given this as a gift, so I'd like to put that on the registry of gifts. So it says here, Float to Survive Australia, so I thought that'd be a good time to declare that. And also, I'd just like to correct any misapprehension about my association with the Mayfield Estate. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Dunbabin, or Joyce and Robert Dunbabin, came to the Mayfield Estate in 1969. They were good friends with my parents. And
Councillor Gregson, can I ask why you're raising this?
Yes. It's just that I'll get to the point. I'll just give you a bit of historical nature. It's just that there was a question over the people that had access to that beach. I've always had access to Mayfield Beach and everything like that with the consent of the owners, Robert and Joyce Dunbabin. They've always invited me, and the only permission they said is, let us know when you're coming and we'll be able to advise you where to go. For instance, if it's wet, we'll tell you where to go to not get bogged, and if they don't want the animals disturbed, to go elsewhere. So I was always very welcome on the Mayfield Estate, and that relationship continued when both members were a part of the Wollongong Spring Bay Council's Wollongong Spring Bay Historical Society. So I'd just like to say that I'm very au fait with the Mayfield Estate, and I've always been very welcome. Now, with the Echo Festival that was conducted and supported sponsorship with the Spring Bay Council, I attended on the Saturday night, and which had Tim Rogers from UMI and Moonroof from the Hobart Band. But the really good discussion I enjoyed was between three surfers, Dustin Hollick, Joe Goldfinch, who has an association with Swansea. She was born there, and she was the daughter of the local GP, Roy Goldfinch, and Michael Paxton, who's doing a fantastic job with underprivileged children and using surfing as a means to bring them back and on a straight and level playing field. So he's doing fantastic work with that. So it was really good to hear them at the discussion at Echo Festival. And also, I'd like to congratulate the very quick work of the acting general manager replying to a resident who went through me with regarding the parking bay repaint in Swansea area. And the acting general manager said that that would be considered for all the municipality and would possibly, provided that the contractor was available by the end of the financial year to do parking bay resprays within the municipality. So that's really good news, and I'd like to thank the acting general manager for his prompt reply and reassurance to that constituent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Mooney?
Just to say that I attended a local government forum on climate change, and it was incredibly interesting actually because they had insurers there talking about how they organise premiums if there's evidence of mitigating climate change, like the levy, for instance. Longford, through to one of the 60 global scientists, the Australian who is doing the work on the data modelling and all the rest. One of the things that came out of that was a discussion at the global level down to the local, and the mapping that the Local Government Association is going to do of hazards around Tasmania. And I think there's a related discussion, perhaps at East Coast Catchments Committee group about that. So Councillor Churchill might have something to add to that. But that will be around mapping the things and the risks that we have, which will allow us to have a greater capacity to talk about the hazards that are faced with different developments or different parts of land or structure planning. So it was good to know that something's afoot in that space.
Any other questions or comments? I think that
Just, if I may, I just wanted to support Councillor Gregson's comments about the Director of Planning and Community, that is corporate and community, who's leaving us tomorrow, I believe, and just wanted to express my best wishes to her. I've worked with her for 4 years on the audit panel, and as a councillor and all the other things that she's done, I think her work has been exemplary, and her team have in the financial space has really brought council a long way in that 4-year period, so that we're now financially in a sustainable position.
I'll support that.
Yeah. One more thing. The other thing that I wanted to mention was just for those who view online, that the letter from the Office of Local Government, just to clarify through you, Mayor, to the General Manager, that for those who'd like to see the content of that, it's filed on the public site under the February meetings as a separate document saying advice from the Office of Local Government. So it was talked, and at least from my sense, unintended or otherwise, I don't think it spoke to the full scope of that letter. So I'd invite people to go and look at it on our site.
thank you. Move on. Agenda item 12 is the confidential session in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015. As Mayor, I declare the meeting closed for the public in order to discuss the following matters. Item 1, minutes of the closed session of the ordinary meeting held on the 25th of February. Item 2, the General Manager's recruitment. Item 3, personnel matter. And item 4, a notice of motion. I have a recommendation, Councillor, Deputy Mayor.
I'll move the council moves into closed session at 4:38.
Thank you. Is the seconder? Councillor Walker, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Mrs. Kerr will advise us when we are no longer recording.